So I'm going to show you how I do Moodle quizzes, not as a quiz really, but as a learning activity. So this would be a substitute to a Zoom session, for instance. If you don't like the one-sided aspect of Zoom, if you want something more interactive, this can be for you. So what the students see from their end is a Moodle quiz like this, let's say thesis and audience. So what they see is they see a set of instructions. These instructions, I want to kind of emphasize this. These would be your notes. These are the notes that you would normally put on a PowerPoint or write on the board. So this is what you tell them over Zoom or inside the class. You write it for them. This is basically the content that you can have. You can simply copy paste that from your files into Moodle. I'm going to show you how you can do that. So it would be self-directed learning. The students go through this, they get examples, whatever you give them usually. And after that, they get questions. So they get to try this on their own. So here they get a thesis statement and they have to tell what is the problem with this, right? So let's say, for instance, they click on this option. It gives them immediate feedback. So why this is not correct. And then it gives them a short other feedback down here. So they can try again the same question. Let's say they pick this one. There's no problem with it, and this time they get it right. So again, they get a encouragement, and you can give them even more feedback down here to encourage them to practice more, and then they get more practice on it. So you can have matching questions or multiple choice or other forms of question. But basically, this is a way of making your lecture material into a quiz where the students get multiple attempts. And these attempts don't cost them. There is no penalty, as Maddie was saying. So that's one way of doing it. Another way of doing it is, let's say here, when I teach the FX market, the foreign exchange market. This is something that I don't talk about at all. There is no instruction box, but as long as they know the supply and demand concepts, they should be able to figure this out. So if the construction companies expect American lumber prices to increase more than Canadian lumber, so you can see that if American is going up more, then they would buy Canadian instead of American, right? So you can say the lumber is, oh well, let's say it's an input, and they would prefer to choose from Canada, which means there's going to be higher demand for Canadian dollar. This will create a shortage Canadian. And I'm going to choose a wrong answer here. So this is basically kind of walking the students through by giving them what they need, but still having them to feel certain things. So having some contribution from them. So they get a feedback down here for why they missed it, and they're given another chance. When they click on second chance, it keeps the old answers and the right answers, but for the last one, they get to do it one more time, and then they move on, and they can try another version like this. So you can click on that. Here it says increase less than the Canadian, so this is a different version of that. Okay, so this is another way of doing that. I would also want to show you how to create short answer questions, which are super useful for avoiding plagiarism. So I'm gonna go to the teacher's view this time.
Ahmed, I'm just curious. Do you write these? Do you take them from the test bank, from your textbook, and import them? Like,
it's your choice. So you could take them from the textbook or the test bank if you want, or you can write them yourself. The ones that I showed you are things that I've written myself. Okay. But sometimes I get it from other places. So you have full choice. So with Moodle, because it's your course, it's up to you where you get your resources from. All right, so.
Wait, I just have a question.
Go ahead.
So you turn on editing and you choose an activity, that's correct?
Yeah.
And which activity did you choose in order to have this format set up?
Right, I'm going to show you right away.
Sorry,
yeah.
I'm sorry,
no,
okay.
No, that's fine. Yeah, feel free to interrupt me. So if you haven't done Moodle quizzes and questions, what you would have to do is on the right panel, you have all the way, if you go down, you have this question bank, right? So I would go to the categories first, and you create a new category. So let's say I'm gonna call it variables. And then you go to the questions and you pick your category, variables, and you create a new question. So here I want to show you a few things. First of all, you have a whole lot of options here. The only one that's not auto-graded is the essay option. This is where you have to grade. So I never actually use this except for a test. For other things, I use the other options. And then this description box is where you can put in your lecture material. This is not a question. The other ones are a question. This one is not a question. So let me show you the short answer, which is super useful, especially for online teaching. I'm gonna call this Netflix IV. And I'm gonna say, consider this hypothesis. The more student watches Netflix, the lower their grade will be. What is the independent variable? Simple question, very quick. The independent variable here is watching Netflix. So you can say watching Netflix. And you can make that 100%. And you can give them the feedback. So you can say that, oh yeah, the IV is the same as the cause. But some of them might say grade. And you want to give them 0 and can say this is the effect, for instance. Now, you might be like, what if they write the answer in different words? Or what if they make a typo, for instance? So what you can do is you can have the word watch, and you can have asterisk before and after. This is wildcard, which means anything can be before, anything can be after, and you give them 100% for that. And you can duplicate the feedback into here. All right. You can also have a general feedback. This is what's shown to the students, to all students, regardless of their answer after they answer the question. So you can have a wrap up of the material. You can put it up there. Once you have put all of the comments that you want in there, you can easily duplicate the question. And in the second one, instead of having IV, I'm going to change that to DV. You can see how easy it is to diversify your questions. So what I would do here is I would make this 0, and I would make this 100%. Now you have to spend a little bit more time fixing the feedback and all that. I'm not going to go through that, but you already get 2 versions of the question. You can make another one easily, and instead of, let's say, Netflix, you can put, I don't know, sports or something. So you can easily make the answers different so that they cannot cheat. Even if they want to cheat, they have to literally teach each other what is the difference between dependent variable and independent variable, right? So once you go to your course to create the quiz, you click on the add activity and scroll down to quiz. This is where you get it. So I'm going to call this the variables quiz. I would also want to show you a couple of things here. In terms of the attempts, I usually give them more than 1 attempt so that if they miss it, they can go back. But inside they can also have multiple attempts. Deferred feedback is good for a test, but if you're doing what I just showed you as a learning material, I always use this last one. So based on my experience, this is the most useful one. And also something that's a little bit more advanced is if you click on show more, it says allow redo within an attempt. I always allow them. So this is the part that you saw that the students could click afterwards to redo another attempt. And I let them see everything within and after the attempt. So that's a little bit of the more advanced parts. And if you click on edit quiz, you can click on add a random question, and you'll click on your variables and you give them, let's say, one question from that category. So this is what you get. And if you have multiple versions, you can have multiple versions there. Sorry to be quick, but you can ask me questions then.
Question, so when you clicked on the random, that means every student gets one of those 3 questions, right? No.
So yeah, exactly. Moodle grabs one at random.
So nobody gets the same test. Exactly.
Exactly. If you have, let's say, if you have 5 or 10 questions and all of them are randomized, it's impossible to. And also, you can shuffle the questions within the test so that they get it in different order. If you have multiple choice questions, there's also shuffling inside so that it's not always the first option. For some of them, it's different. And the good thing is with all of these things that I showed you, is all of them auto corrected and auto done, so you don't need to do any of this manually. So if you have used, let's say, TestGen or ExamView, I think the way Moodle does is a lot more efficient, a lot faster. If you later on rename a question or change parts of it, it's automatically linked into it itself. So you don't need to redo anything once you create things.